What's up, guys? I'm James M. Enopia, and today we will talk all about the comparing economic systems. So, what is an economic system? An economic system consists of the institutions and the method by which resources are allocated and products and services are distributed. Economic systems differ primarily in who owns the factors of production, how the allocation of resources is directed, and the method used to direct economic activity. The primary distinction between the different systems is the degree to which the government participates in the economy. Communism. Communism, also known as a command system. It is an economic system where the government owns most of the factors of production and decides the allocation of resources and what products and services will be provided. The most important originators of communist doctrine were Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Like the socialists before them, they wanted to end the exploitation of the masses by the few. The capitalist system at that time required workers to work under harsh and dangerous conditions for little pay. The end goal of communism was to eliminate class distinctions among people, where everyone shared equally in the process of society and when government would no longer be needed. Karl Marx agreed with Louis Blanc in how labor and income should be managed, from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs. However, it seems clear from history that Adam Smith had the correct principle, which is that people work in their own self-interest. Marx and Engels believed there was a class struggle between the masses, which Marx called the proletariat, who could only offer their labor, and the owners of the means of production, which included land, raw materials, tools and machines, and especially money. Karl Marx called the ruling class the bourgeoisie. Bourgeoisie in Marxist context, the capitalist class who own most of society's wealth and means of production. Karl Marx believed that a political revolution was essential because the state was a central instrument of capitalist society. And since the bourgeoisie had a stranglehold on the government, it would be necessary to use force and violence to overthrow the capitalists. Although Marx and Engels believed that property should belong to society, they did not really give much thought to how economic decisions would be made. Communist countries, particularly Russia and China, decided on a centrally planned economy or a command economy. The centrally planned economy had the following major attributes. First, the government owns all means of production, which is managed by employees of the state. These employees operate under party-appointed economic planners who set output targets and prices and frequently interfered with the operations to satisfy personal or party desires. And because communist economies are not efficient, and because of the Communist Party's desire to retain power, most economic resources were devoted to industrialization and to the military, depriving consumers of food and other necessary products, causing intense competition for these limited necessities, where many people had to wait in long lines for common consumer goods, such as a toilet paper. Another major feature of communist economies was their emphasis on the country's self-reliance, discouraging international trade and investments. Major decisions were made by the highest-ranking members of the Communist Party, which in the Soviet Union was the Politburo. The Politburo frequently met with the Central Committee that consisted of the heads of the local Communist Party, factions and the government ministries, the military, police, and other major participants in the economy. Although the purpose of communism was to serve the needs of the proletariat, communist governments simply became repressive regimes that exploited their people to aggrandize their own power, exploiting the masses even more so than the capitalist. Next is the capitalism. Under capitalism or market system, each individual or business works in its own interest and maximizes its own profit based on its decisions. A market economy is one where the allocation of resources and the trading of goods and services are through the decentralized decisions of many firms and households. And the equilibrium between supply and demand determines prices, which determines economic output, which in turn determines the allocation of resources. In pure capitalism, also known as laissez-faire capitalism, the government's rule is restricted to providing and enforcing the rules of law by which the economy operates, but it does not interfere with the market. So laissez-faire or laissez-faire means let it be. The essential characteristics of capitalism are that the factors of production are privately owned. Economic transactions take place in markets where buyers and sellers interact. Businesses and employees are free to pursue their own self-interest and are motivated to do so by the potential to earn a profit. And because consumers are free to buy what they want, the competition for their funds will require businesses to satisfy their needs, or else they will cease to exist due to lack of sales. This consumer sovereignty is what affects the efficient allocation of resources. In laissez-faire capitalism, businesses become free to form monopolies or oligopolies, which reduces competition and thereby reduces the advantages of capitalism. Instead, a plutocracy is created, where the wealthy rule the economy for their own benefit. Socialism. The definition of socialism varies widely, and many people use it synonymously for communism, but it is often distinguished as an economic system between communism and capitalism. Socialism is a social and economic doctrine that espouses public over private ownership and control of property and natural resources. Socialists argue that since everyone contributes to society in the form of work, therefore everyone should benefit from it. The degree of ownership or control differs among socialists. Some believe that the government should own most of the property and natural resources, while others believe that the small businesses should be owned privately. Still others, mainly the rich, believe that simply taxing the rich more is a form of socialism. Like communism, socialism seeks to redistribute the wealth more equitably by the communal ownership of natural resources and the major industries, such as banking and public utilities. Socialists also seek to nationalize monopolies which greatly enrich their owners at the expense of the people. However, unlike communism, most small or non-essential enterprises would remain privately owned. Also, unlike the communists, most socialists do not advocate violence or force to achieve their own economic system. Thus, various forms of socialist ideals have developed. Some sample subtypes of socialist systems include the following. Guild socialism was based on the medieval guild, where an association of craftsmen or other people of similar skills determined their own working conditions and activities. Some of these guild socialists thought that there should be a government that coordinated the activity of different guilds, while others thought that the state should be limited to providing protection. Next is the Fabian socialism. It emphasized winning small battles over pitched battles. The Fabian Society was named after the Roman general Fabius Contactor, who wore down Hannibal's armies through minor skirmish rather than major battles. They advocate the social control of property by an impartial administration of enlightened experts. Next is the Social Democratic Party of Germany, or SPD. It was formed in 1875 and exerted significant influence on German politics. A prominent revisionist of Marxism was Edward Bernstein, who lived in England for a while to escape the harassment of Otto von Bismarck, who as a chancellor of Germany, who tried to suppress the socialist and the SPD party in particular. Before I end this video, I will leave a quote from Roosevelt, which is, "But while they prate of economic laws, men and women are starving. We must lay hold of the fact that economic laws are not made by nature, they are made by human beings."